It all starts at a quiet roadside gas station, where a young blonde girl suddenly realizes she's gotten her period. Annoyed, she rushes into the restroom. As she sits in the stall, a strange presence makes itself known. Dirty, clawed hands creep over the top of the stall door. She barely has time to scream before a pale, monstrous face appears. A vampire, lured by the scent. He tears the stall open and strikes. Meanwhile, we meet Hamid, a hard-working mechanic who's just been laid off. His boss, Dudley, blames company cutbacks, but Hamid doesn't believe a word of it. Frustrated and angry, he demands the money he's owed before storming off. Hamid heads to the bar where his friends usually hang out. There, he finds one of them charming two girls, Jess and Kitty. One of the girls starts showing interest in Hamid, but the moment is cut short when Jude, his girlfriend and a waitress at the same bar, storms in unannounced. She's clearly not happy, especially after learning Hamid just lost his job. Another guy named John shows up and starts flirting with the girls. Nick doesn't take it well and things get physical. Hamid ends up caught in the middle of the scuffle. The fight angers Jude's boss, Eddie, who warns her that any damage to the bar will come out of her pay. Already fed up, Jude snaps, smashing a bottle over Eddie's head and walking out, knowing she's just gotten herself fired too. Out in the parking lot, Nick tries to calm Jude and Hamid down. Now both out of work, and with rent overdue, the couple realizes they're out of options. They pack quickly and leave town, just as their landlord prepares to force them out. Meanwhile, John leaves the bar with Jess and Kitty. They stop to refuel at Dudley's garage, but it's been closed unexpectedly. John jokes about being left alone, but he doesn't know what's waiting for him. A vampire suddenly appears at his window, and inside the garage, a seemingly lost girl reveals herself as a vampire and viciously attacks Dudley. Far away, Jude and Hamid drive through the night, lost in their thoughts. Regret creeps in. Hamid tries to make it right, even proposes marriage, but Jude snaps, accusing him of being reckless and not knowing what they're doing. Suddenly, Hamid slams the brakes as something hits the vehicle hard. Back at the garage, police and the coroner arrive. Strangely, there's no blood, nothing missing, not even food. Whatever did this, it wasn't a person or an animal. The mystery deepens. Elsewhere, a couple named Gail and Miles set up camp in the forest. Gail waits in the tent while Miles steps out to relieve himself. But something is lurking in the trees. Seconds later, he crashes backward into the tent, blood pouring from a vicious neck wound. Gail screams in horror as something steps closer. Back in the van, Hamid wakes up, dazed. Jude stirs beside him and asks what happened, but he can't explain. They step outside and find blood smeared on the bumper, along with a torn piece of fabric nearby. A damaged sign lies on the ground, Madison Trailer Park. As they approach the strange area, an uneasy silence surrounds them. Cars are parked in a tight circle. Hamid knocks on one trailer's door, no answer. They're about to leave when a man suddenly appears, shotgun raised, ordering them off his property. Jude quickly explains their situation. The crash, the job loss, the desperate drive, and the man softens. He introduces himself as Crawford. He mentions the place needs maintenance and offers them work. The only condition, they must stay on the grounds. He'll pay them in cash. Out of options, the couple agrees. Crawford explains this is Boogieville, owned by his brother-in-law, Madison. Their duties are limited to the nearby farm, and there are strict rules. No one is allowed to leave after dark, no visitors, and under no circumstances should they enter the attic or basement. Hamid finds all this unsettling, but he follows Crawford around for a tour anyway. Spooked, Hamid demands answers. Crawford leads him to another trailer where a man named George lives with his mother. Crawford finally tells the truth. Boogieville is a shelter for vampires. Madison lives in the basement, and Crawford protects them during the day. In return, they don't harm him. But now that he's getting older, he needs someone new to keep them safe. Meanwhile, we learn that the girl who killed Dudley is Lily, Crawford's daughter. She's now under Madison's care. Lily questions why humans were brought in, but Crawford insists it's necessary. That night, Hamid sneaks out of bed to inspect the attic lock, but Crawford catches him and reminds him sternly. Their lives depend on obeying the rules. Meanwhile, Nick leaves the bar with Betsy. They hear a strange sound outside and see a little girl sitting silently by Nick's truck. When he approaches her and gently asks if she's all right, she turns, her face contorted and monstrous. It's Lily. Back in town, Sheriff Jim is overwhelmed by strange deaths with no clear cause. When the coroner Carol hints at something inhuman behind them, he brushes it off at first. But she warns, this is just the beginning. Meanwhile, Hamid and Jude begin planning an escape. Crawford is hiding something big, and they need to know what. At the same time, the sheriff interviews Eddie, who shares that Hamid was attacked by what he thought was a bear just before Dudley died. Determined, Hamid confronts Crawford with a shotgun and forces him to open the basement. Inside, they discover Madison, his wife Tess, and daughter Chloe, all vampires. Madison confronts them and declares that they now belong to Boogieville. Leaving isn't an option. At the hospital, Nick insists he was attacked by someone who was already dead. The sheriff still hesitates, but Carol pushes back, warning that if they wait too long, the town won't survive. Back in Boogieville, Hamid and Jude are desperate. Madison calls a meeting with all the vampires in the park. He announces that Hamid and Jude are under his protection and no one is to touch them. But not all agree. One vampire, Billy, is furious and gets banished. Crawford explains that Billy wants to hunt far from the park, while Madison prefers staying local and unnoticed. Meanwhile, the sheriff starts believing the vampire theory and quietly prepares a team. At the farm, Hamid finds a female vampire hiding under a vehicle. She begs for release. He drags her into the daylight, and she burns to ash. Crawford sees her remains, and the ring she wore. She was part of Billy's group. Crawford warns Hamid not to act on his own again. But Hamid doesn't back down. Hamid finds Jude trembling in fear. They cling to each other as Madison declares this is their final chance to adjust. Later, Crawford brings Billy the ring. Enraged, Billy slashes Crawford's throat and disappears into the shadows. Knowing danger is close, Jude tells Hamid to run and find help. He buries Crawford and promises to return for her. Their van is useless, but Hamid finds another vehicle and races off. As Madison moves in to attack Jude, she exposes him to sunlight through a window. He escapes barely alive. Hamid finds the sheriff and explains everything. The sheriff gathers townspeople, arms them, and heads for Boogieville. They only have an hour of daylight left. Madison, now unhinged, lashes out at Tess and Lily. Fed up with it all, pushes her mother into the sunlight, ending her. Two officers sweep the basement but miss Lily hiding. Meanwhile, Carol and Jim are ambushed in the barn but manage to fight their way out. Jim, shaken, admits bringing civilians was a mistake. Jude, thinking it's over, suggests they take the sheriff's vehicle and leave. But Hamid, changed by what he's seen, says they must finish the job. She agrees, only to be attacked by Madison, who drags her under a trailer and bites her. The officers arrive in time and shoot Madison, rescuing Jude, but the vampire vanishes. 3 months later, the sheriff pays Hamid a visit at Boogieville. He's surprised Hamid stayed behind. He asks how Jude is doing. Hamid doesn't answer, because now, like Crawford once was, he's the one watching over her during the daylight. That is the end of our movie today. Don't forget to like and subscribe.